Dear chess friends, it happened again. Again, we had a decisive game in the World Chess Championship match between Jan Nepomniachtchi and Dingler, and this match is becoming one of the most epic World Championship matches of all times. Again, we had a winning game. I'm not sure if that ever happened in chess history, that we had already 5 decisive games in the first 7 rounds. This is really crazy stuff. So, in my opinion, whatever happens in the continuation of this event, we cannot really say it's over because everyone can beat everyone here. So in my opinion, this will be still tough battle for both of these players. So let's see now what happened in the round 7. Jan Nepomniachtchi played with the white pieces and opened with the move e4. Ding's response was a little surprise. We had the French defense on the board. Jan continues now with the move d4, and after move d5, now in my opinion, there are 3 choices that white can do. White can go into this knight to c3 systems, which probably will be met with the move bishop to b4, which is the winner variation, or can go into the Tarrasch variation with the move knight to d2, or can go into a very solid positional line with the advanced variation with the move e5. Here, Nepo plays the move knight to d2, and we have to say it, Nepo is also a great French defense player. Many times in the past, Nepo chose to play the French with the black pieces, had also, I think, decent success. So it was still a risky choice, I think, by Ding to play one of the Jan's favorite openings, but in my opinion, still a great choice. It was still... I think a line that produced many opportunities also here for Ding, because after moves knight to d2, which is of course not the most aggressive way. The most aggressive way is to play knight to c3, challenging the center. Now after move knight to d2, Ding goes immediately with this aggressive method with the move c5 into this open line of the Tarrasch variation of the French defense. And you see now the structure becomes almost like the Sicilian defense because the c pawn is already playing, will be probably traded off for the d pawn like in the Sicilian. So we have similar ideas in this types of structures. So in the game knight to f3 played by Nepo, we have c takes d4, knight to d4, and after knight to f6 we have e takes d5, knight to d5. And again, there are 3 choices here before Nepo. In my opinion, knight to e4, knight to f3, and g3. I myself like the most here g3 because it doesn't break a certain principle in chess, which says that you should not play with the same piece in the opening twice. Now Nepo breaks this a little bit, this certain rule, plays now with the same piece twice with the knight on f3 now, but of course liberates now the long diagonal for the dark square bishop, and the light square bishop was good anyway. So now instead of developing this bishop on this diagonal, Nepo chooses to stay on this one. So still normal theory of the French defense. We have now bishop to e7, maybe bishop to b4 is also a little bit more provocative, playing forcing maybe the move c3, then retreat to e7, or maybe force a trade of further trades of pieces. So bishop to e7 still of course a solid line for Ding. We have bishop to c4, knight to c6 played by Ding, and now after move knight to c6 that Nepo played, we have now the move b takes c6, which creates of course a structural problem here for Dingler. It's of course a weakness, it's an isolated pawn on c6, but it opens further the game. Brave choice again, I think, by Ding to go in these types of lines, in these types of structures, because now after move bishop to b7, bishop to a6 in some lines if possible, you get the bishop developed. Now the b file is open, you have several chances on the b file. So in my opinion, with this line, Ding at least provoked a dynamic game, provoked really a tactical sharp battle already in an early stage of the game. Kingside casting, queen to e2. In my opinion, this is a good, again, a really idea here by Nepo, forcing maybe here this idea to get the knight on e5. Also rook to d1 in some lines is dangerous, getting an attack against the queen on the d file. But what I always liked about this types of position in really this open battles of French defenses, or maybe even Sicilian defenses, is a potential rook lift. I think if a Stockfish engine would play this game, I think it would always choose maybe to play something like, I don't know, rook to d1, rook to d3, maybe trying to shift the rook over to h3, g3. But of course here with the move queen to e2, Nepo is announcing that the rook could come very fast into the game. So now comes bishop to b7 here by Ding, bishop to d3. Nepo builds now a beautiful attacking formation, because what we can notice in Ding's setup here is a decent setup. I think we can agree this is perfectly fine. The bishop on e7, good. Knight centralized on d5. c5 will come. Bishop will be liberated. So nothing wrong with Ding's setup. But what I don't like, the only thing that I don't like in Ding's position is the weakened king. The king doesn't have minor piece defenders in front of him. So that's why, look at this. Only pawns are defending the king. So that's why Nepo goes immediately with the move bishop to d3, builds an amazing attacking formation against Black's king, especially around the square h7. So queen to c7, threatening knight to f4, picking up the bishop on d3. The bishop on d3 is of course the best minor piece. Queen to e4, trying of course immediately a checkmate threat, and the only two ways to defend this position is of course to play the move g6 or knight to f6. I'm more fan of this move g6 that Ding didn't play, because I like my knight in the center of the board. It's simple as that. Of course, nothing wrong with Ding's continuation. Knight to f6 and g6. The engine evaluates the position the same. It doesn't matter. But I kind of like more really my knight here on d5. Maybe the knight will be maneuvered here to b4, attacking again the bishop. Maybe you get c5. The queen gets endangered. And the problem, I think, in this scenario here is that the queen cannot come on h4. Maybe the queen cannot get more attacking chances. With the move knight to f6, okay, you get the tempo against the queen, but now the queen gets on a more active square here on h4. That's what I didn't like about Ding's continuation. As I said, nothing wrong. You not lose the game because the move queen to h4. Now Ding goes with c5. This is beautiful because he's trying now bishop to f3. After g takes f3, you would have huge position problems here from White's perspective. The king could be endangered, so that's why you have to make something of this position now. So if you play, for instance, instead of this move h6, c5, if you play maybe the move h6, I just wanted to show you how really amazing this attacking formation by Jan Nepomniachtchi is, because that's what I really don't like about this move knight to f6, because you allowed basically the queen to come into the game. Look at this. For instance, maybe in the lower level in chess, someone would play the move h6, and this is quite dangerous because you get bishop to h6 immediately, g takes h6, queen to h6. You're trying maybe to get some breathing spaces for the rook, but now here after move knight to g5, you're trying maybe to escape with the king. But look at this. This is undefendable anymore. You can get the queen into the game, but look at this. You get even checkmated in one of these lines. Of course, Black doesn't have to play the game like this, but this would be devastating, for instance, if you play the move h6. I just wanted to point you out how really tactically rich now this position already is here for both sides. So after move queen to h4, that's why c5, you have to play now this move. Bishop to f4, played by Jan Nepomniachtchi. Bishop to g5. Here, maybe to continue the pressure with the move bishop to f6 and then maybe threatening the checkmate on h7 is not good, because now h6 is working, and actually it leads into a drawish line probably, because after bishop to h6, g takes h6, queen to h6, you create again some breathing spaces. But now after move queen to g5, king to f8 and queen to h6, the problem is now you cannot get your king back here to e8. You cannot escape with your king because you get a stunning bishop to b5. So after bishop to c6, bishop to c6, queen to c6, knight to e5 is devastating. It comes again with the direct threat against the queen. The escape route for the king is taken now, the d7 square. So in some of these lines you can get even checkmate. So see, the whole concept with the move bishop to g5 after h6 doesn't matter. It doesn't bring White anything, because after bishop to h6, g takes h6, queen to h6, rook to d8, you could just launch a perpetual here, because Black doesn't have to escape, of course, towards e8. Black will simply escape to g8, and probably the game would lead into a perpetual draw. So you see, nothing spectacular. So that's why bishop to f4, the correct choice here by Jan Nepomniachtchi. So we have here queen to b6, attacking the pawn on b2, but this pawn on b2 is really not endangered. If you pick it up, then of course you could lose the bishop here on b7. So far the b2 pawn is really not a threat. So now knight to e5. Beautiful move by Jan, getting the knight in the center of the board, building further pressure here against Black's king. So here, if you play, for instance, queen to b4, trying maybe somehow to activate the queen, maybe in some lines even trade off the queens. Then look at this, with rook to e1, this position could be already very dangerous. As I said, there is always this potential path, rook to e3, rook to g3. If, for instance, the rook comes into the game, then I think you're destroyed here from black's perspective. I'm not sure if you can defend such a storm that's coming to you, so you have to be active here. That's the point, for instance, also about the move queen to b4. Maybe in some of these lines you are trying to simplify the game, but it's simply not working. So after move queen to knight to e5, here Ding plays the correct move, because in some of these lines also knight to d7 is also a threat. For instance, the knight gets deflected to the square d7, then again you get checkmated. So you see, this could be also messed up. For instance, you play rook from a to c8, knight to d7 is even winning the game. Look at this, really wild stuff. So as I said, really beautiful position already here for both sides. So that's why Ding plays the correct move, the only move. Rook from a to d8, covering now the d7 square. Rook from a to e1, beautiful move here again by Jan. Many of us, I think, would play rook from f to e1, which is again not so much worse, but I really loved here Nepo's choice, rook from a to e1, because Nepo is saying, I will try to keep my chances with this rook on the f file, because this rook is already attacking something. Of course, not immediately, but in some of these lines, the f file could be opened, and the rook is supporting now the knight on e5. So as I said, maybe in some lines, bishop to g3, rook to, f4, maybe rook to e3, maybe again trying somehow to include more pieces into the attack. So rook from a to e1, really interesting idea here by Jan Nepomniachtchi. g6, we have bishop to g5, attacking now the knight twice, rook to d4, kicking away the queen, queen to h3, and now queen to c7. Preparing now the move c4. The move c4 would be very dangerous. If you allow that, then of course c4, c3 is coming, and then you could create further weaknesses here on the queen side. The pawn c2 could be endangered, maybe also the b2 pawn. You can also maybe create double pawns, which are of course not a good structure anymore. So queen to c7, again a beautiful idea here by Ding. So that's why b3 played by Nepo, not allowing the move c4, and now knight to h5, getting the knight more active, especially here on the square f4. We have now f4 by Nepo, and you see now that was the whole point about this rook from a to e1 idea. He stayed with this rook on the f file and played now the move f4, which was in my opinion here really brilliant choice. So here comes now, in my opinion, one of the critical moments of the game. It's not a decisive moment. It's, I think, now where the game could go into different directions. So here in the game, Ding played bishop to d6, and it's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong, as I said. Here, it's not an inaccuracy, mistake, or blunder or something, but maybe an interesting idea would have been bishop to g5. Probably Ding was a little bit annoyed by the possibility of this knight to jump maybe on g4 and then to f6. But this is defendable actually, because look at this, the knight could come on f4, the queen is coming here on h6, and this seems really dangerous. But actually, look at this, with the move c4 and maybe knight to g4, knight to f6, that could be an idea. Actually, with the move f5, you can defend this, because after knight to f6, we can pick it up now. The knight after g takes f6, we pick up the piece, and here this is really a wild tactical sequence. Here, for instance, you play f7, queen to f7, you can pick up now here the piece, rook to f4, queen to f4, and after d takes c2. I'm not sure if white would be satisfied with this position, because bishop to e4 is coming in the next couple of moves. We have here already a 4 versus 2 pawn majority on the king side. The white's king is also a little bit endangered. Of course, black's king is also not optimal, but this will be a really interesting position to see. In the game, after move f4, bishop to d6 was played by Ding, so he didn't want to play this line bishop to g5, because he was probably annoyed by the potential knight jumps on dark squares on f6, on h6. So c3, kicking away the rook, and now the game is heating up. This is really now becoming really an epic game. Knight to f4 here played by Ding Liren, because after bishop to f4, rook to f4 was played. You cannot get the rook here on d5. That's the main issue here. You cannot step back, you simply lose a piece. You have also this line, look at this, bishop to e4, so you cannot really go with your rook. You have to go accept the exchange sacrifice here with the move rook to f4. After rook to f4, bishop to e5, and we have now reached this position in which black is down the exchange, but has this amazing, again, 4 versus 2 pawn majority on the king side. And this is now the optimal exchange sacrifice that you can play when you continue the game with the bishop pair. I think this is one of the best ideas that you can do. So now Ding has so far great chances. If you look maybe at the evaluation bar, this position is slightly better already for black. This is really wild. Look at this. The queen and bishop are building a massive battery here. The bishop is very dangerous here. This rook will come into the game on the d file. So this is now already a complicated game. So here rook to h4 was played by Jan Nepomniachtchi. He's continuing the pressure now the h file. The problem is now you cannot lock the h file. If you play h5 in this position, it's game over. Look at this. This will be the stunner of the day. This wasn't, of course, played in the game, but I wanted to show you this potential line. Bishop to g6, f takes g6, queen to e6, comes with a check, and now we pick up the piece, and it's game over. We are here again the situation where white is up the exchange, but it's a different story now. This is not a bishop pair anymore. We have here even a 3 versus 2 pawn majority on the queen side, so the game is over again for black. So now Ding played again the correct idea. Beautiful counterattack, because you don't have time to pick up the pawn on h7, because you get the rook to d3. The queen gets deflected from the defense of the rook on h7, and the game is again messed up. So that's why after move rook to d8, bishop to e4 was played by Jan. Natural choice. You should not really tolerate the bishop pair now. The idea to trade off at least one of these bishops is perfectly fine. Bishop to e4, rook to e4, rook to d5, and now after rook to h4, again Jan goes for this attack on the h file. Here Ding played the move queen to d6, and you see now again, just pay a little bit attention about this evaluation bar. Of course, we should not watch this position about stockfish evaluations. This is human chess, but look at this. Black has chances here. We have here, as I said, this 4 versus 2 causes me here a headache for white. If you manage to push these pawns in a good way, especially if you manage to push them to the 4th rank somehow, I would not really love to play this game from white's perspective. So Ding played a beautiful exchange sacrifice. The strategy that he applied, the tactics that he saw, so far a perfect game, a perfect French defense game. This is really a book example how to play the French defense. Really stunning game so far by Ding. Queen to e3, we have h5, g3, and we have bishop to f6, kicking away the rook, and now a beautiful idea here by Ding, h4, because this pawn move is of course a temporary sacrifice, but it creates further madness on dark squares, because after g takes h4, look at this, the bishop is coming into the game. We have now weaknesses in front of the king, many opportunities. The queen and the rook are building a battery. We can get the rook maybe on the 2nd rank, but now comes the critical moment of the game. Here Ding was under enormous time pressure. He almost ran out of time in this particular moments of the game. This is really crazy. What happened after move g takes h4 is now the first mistake here by Ding, and it's not even a losing mistake, but he was shocked, I think, by this next couple of moves that he played. He was shocked also by the time pressure that he got, and that's, I think, the huge difference here in Ding's play and in Jan's play. In my opinion, Jan is calculating this position much faster. On the other hand, I think Ding is more prepared. It seems to me, at least, that Ding has a great preparation in openings, in ideas, in tricks, and similar stuff. He has novelties, and but he gets many times so far, at least in this World Chess Championship match, under enormous time pressure, and he played now the bad move rook to d2. And this is tempting, of course. This seems like a good idea because you are attacking the weak square in h2. But this weak square is a square that's weak through the whole game afterwards. You don't have to attack immediately. First, I think it was time to regroup, because here the better idea was to play the move bishop to e5. Finally getting the bishop again into the game, because here on this side of the board the bishop wasn't so good. After move bishop to e5, maybe queen to e2 can be played, getting somehow the queen connected to the h2 pawn. But now you can even include the bishop more into the game. That's the beautiful part. For instance, now you play queen to f2, now rook to f5, and I think this is a massive position here for Ding, especially because of this diamond structure. Look at this. Everything is so glued together. Everything is so compact. The rook is protecting the pawn. The queen is protecting the pawn. The queen is protecting the bishop. The rook is protecting the bishop. The pawns are protecting the rook. So everything is so compact. And if, for instance, you push the pawns too far, for instance, if the rook comes now on the g file, then the king could be really naked here. So in my opinion, this was the way to go. You can maybe try here to move queen to c2, c5, trying to take out the pawn, but of course, look at this, the rook and the queen covering this very important square. So you don't have access to the position anymore. You're paralyzed, although you have the rook, both of the rooks here on the board. But Ding played the risky rook to d2, and Jan counterplays this with the natural idea. He's just covering the second rank, rook to e2, and now another blunder in a row here played by Ding. Rook to d3. A better was way to go, and that's also a hard thing in chess, to admit your mistake and retreat to the same square that you have been already. So now Ding should have simply admit, as I said, I made a mistake, let's retreat, let's try maybe afterwards this idea, bishop to e5, bishop to f4, maybe rook to f5, and again, this is not so bad. Maybe you can hang on to this position and maybe force at least now a draw here, because after rook to f2, we can play bishop to e5 again, you can play king to g2, and now maybe we can even pick up in some of these lines this pawn, but still white should be slightly better. But he played rook to d3 and allowed now Jan just to trade off the pawns here on c5. And again, Ding plays the third time in a row a mistake with the rook. So he played now 3 consecutive bad moves with the rook, which is really incredible. But as I said, he was under time pressure. He almost lost on time because now it's move 34 and still they didn't gain extra time. So they had to play the first 40 moves in 2 hours. So Ding almost reached the time control, but he had to play still 6 more moves in order to get additional time. So this was now really the critical moment again. Rook to d1, again a bad move. Maybe queen to c5, rook to c5, rook bishop to c3. Okay, still of course white is much better, but maybe with these 2 connected pawns, f5, e5, maybe you can make something happen, but this is top grandmaster level. Probably, of course, Nepo would win this game. But okay, after move queen to c5, rook to d1, as we said, king to g2, and there's no good check anymore that's possible. Here, Ding is desperately trying to get the queen somehow into the game. Rook to f2, again, no checks are possible. That's the issue here. King to g7, queen, rook to f4, lining up now the rooks on the f file, and after queen to c3, actually in this position Ding even resigns. So of course we can trade off, simply play rook to f7, many opportunities, but this is not a good position anymore here for black. So what to say, great game. I think this is not suspicious what Ding played here. He played a beautiful French defense. This is, as I said, book theory. This is important theory. These are cool novelties that Ding played, cool ideas. We have seen an exchange sacrifice that was correct, but the time pressure, the time management is something that bothers Ding in this World Chess Championship match. He has to control it somehow. Of course, he wants to calculate everything, but if he manages to do it slightly better here, then I think he has great chances against Jan, because it seems to me that Ding is playing more and more active. Jan plays really sharp chess, but you see sometimes he gets also under pressure here with the white pieces. We'll see what will happen, because this is not over, of course. This is just game 7 and the result is +1 for Jan. We have seen this roller coaster. Ding won the game, Jan won the game, Ding won the game. So far one of the best World Chess Championship matches of all time. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot because it had so many beautiful ideas. Unfortunately for Ding, of course, he lost the game, but time is also a valuable thing in chess. If you want to see more about this beautiful World Chess Championship match, check out our coverage so far. Here's the link of our playlist of the World Chess Championship in 2023. And if you like this content, don't forget to hit the subscribe button. See you soon with some more videos, and what to say, chess is the best, of course.